Oh boy. Good morning, Mario, and good morning, Switch fans. I had plans to talk about a really cool port that got announced, as well as a really interesting look at how Miyamoto actually screwed something up for Nintendo. But then I saw what was going around the Nintendoverse about 2025, and plans were scrapped, refocused, and we got to dive in. Because this is just... Ooh, it's a tough topic. It's a tough topic. So what's going on, everybody? It's Zach from SwitchForce. Love you lots. Hope you're doing fantastic. Remnant from the Ashes was announced for Switch. It's graphically lacking, but Remnant 2 was surprised announced at the Game Awards, and Remnant is a really fun shooter Dark Souls style game. It's coming to Switch sometime soon. Guessing it's going to be confirmed at the upcoming February Direct with an actual release date. That's really neat. Unfortunately, it doesn't get the shine that it deserves because this episode and today is all about what's been going around this morning. Everybody knows, like, a new Switch, a Switch Pro is just divisive. It's just, it's frankly a bad topic because you can't, like, nobody's happy. Either you talk about it and then the people who don't want to talk about it aren't happy, or you don't talk about it and then people say that the Switch is getting so old. It's just a bad situation. And I've gone on record saying I believe that a new Switch hardware is coming sooner rather than later. Today we have another piece of the puzzle stating the opposite. So a lot of these thoughts about a Switch Pro have come from leaks, right? We've seen them arrive from Bloomberg. We've seen them arrive from Nintendo leakers. They've been on Twitter. They've been on forums. They've been on Nikkei. They've been everywhere. And make sure to let me know in the comments what you feel about this. But basically, Nate Drake and MVG have a podcast, and today they went on record saying that their speculation is that new Nintendo hardware will not arrive until late 2024 or early 2025. Let that sink in for a second. Late 2024, early 2025. So we're talking 2 more years from this moment right now and then some, because a January launch is very odd and almost not gonna happen. Giving you some data here, that would be 10 years from the initial development or release of the current chipset in the Switch, because the Tegra that it's based on released in 2015. A 10-year stretch where that Tegra has to chug along like the little engine that could. I think I can. And it can in terms of success and sales, but let's assume this future. Let's forget about me thinking a new hardware is coming this year. Let's forget about Switch Pro in 2022. Let's forget about Switch Pro in 2023. Let's forget about 2024. Let's consider a world where Nintendo does not drop new hardware until 2025 and the ramifications of that, which to me are massive. Because this puts Nintendo in a worse position than where the Switch is. And let me tell you right now, Doug Bowser, Mr. Furukawa, and everyone that works at the big end, this would be a colossal mistake. Here's why. The Switch already was 3.5 years behind the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One X. It felt long in the tooth at the beginning, and it's only gotten worse with the arrival of the new generation. We now have a PS5 that's pushing gorgeous visuals, an Xbox Series set of systems that can kind of run the gamut, and a Nintendo Switch that struggles to attract third-party support, receives constant third-party delays, as well as third-party vaporware. And it's not getting any better, it's only getting worse. A 2025 launch for your next hardware means that you are 4.5 years behind the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series consoles. So now previously you had a 3.5 year gap, and it felt like, oh gosh, the Switch graphics are struggling and third-party support is difficult to come by. And now you're asking to be a year behind that. No, because you no longer have the Switch gimmick to ride on. I mean, it still is there, but that was a industry shifting moment. That was a wild card, an ace up the sleeve that Nintendo had and no one else did. And it worked so well. It continues to work so well, and it would continue to work until 2025. I fear that a new console with 4.5 year inferior graphics is going to be not received the same as it was this time around. Now look, maybe Nintendo has like graphic mega power, but do we really believe that? They never have, at least in comparison to Xbox and PlayStation in the modern era. Do we think that they would? The answer is no. There's no way that the Switch 2 comes out in 2025 and is pushing PS6 graphics, but Sony will be getting near talking about the PlayStation 6. I think this puts Nintendo in a very bad position, and if this is what they're planning, if we follow along with Nate and MVG's speculation that, hey, There was a Switch Pro plan. It got canceled. They're going to redo things and put it out in 2025. I fear for what happens. I don't think Nintendo can take the Wii U strategy of like, we're impervious to ever falling. That was their Wii mantra. It was like, we're so high and mighty, it can't possibly go wrong. And I don't want to see that happen again. I don't want to see Nintendo just ride this thing out, stretch it, because what do you put out? If they're going to truly hold the next big games for that next system and it's 2025, the next 2 years are going to be tough. I mean, there will be some heavy hitters, obviously. Tears of the Kingdom, Metroid Prime 4. But to me, if you're holding off, that means you're holding a 3D Mario. That means you're holding Mario Kart 9. That means you're holding the next true Animal Crossing until at least 2025 and possibly 2026. Which means, what do you do for the next 2 to 3 years? They don't seem to have enough holiday mega hits to last that long unless it's just going to be the Pokemon platform, which it could be. The sad truth here is that Nintendo's financials and our best interests don't line up. They often don't line up. Nintendo can go out there and push millions and millions of units and not make us happy. But their investors are happy, their executives are happy, and their bottom line is looking golden. This is the danger of having such a successful system. You can ride that thing off into the sunset, and you may have a dark day ahead of you, or you may have a light day ahead of you. Perhaps the switchability is going to be unbeatable. Maybe no matter what they do, it will just be a winner. But you've got the Steam Deck out there, and you've got Razer bringing a system out there, and you've got more and more companies attempting to do what the Switch does, but with far superior power, and eventually, maybe easier, maybe far bigger libraries. I mean, the Steam Deck is already there with an incredible library of Steam titles, and that thing is so fun to play. And there are more times than not that I prefer to pick up a game on the Steam Deck than on the Switch because of how it plays and the power of that console. The other thing that happens if they do wait till 2025 is we inevitably get a ton of special editions. You're going to see the Splatoon, the Pokemon, just repeated, rinsed, and repeated, and you might even see a Switch Lite OLED. In fact, that could end up being the hardware that is paced alongside Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. A Switch Lite OLED, a revised OLED, so instead of getting a Switch 2, we get a Switch Lite 2, which doesn't that just feel too perfect? Doesn't that, when you think about it, just sit right in Nintendo's wheelhouse? Doesn't it just say like, oh gosh, that's exactly what they do? Everybody thinks there's going to be new, more powerful hardware, but in reality, it's just the perfect way to play Zelda portably for cheap. I mean, business-wise, can you blame them? It's a smart idea. Everybody's got the Switch, the OLED screen is amazing, but upgrading to an OLED just for the screen still seems to be pricey for plenty of people, so a Switch Lite OLED, that's a marketable piece of hardware. Now, a Switch 2 or a Switch Pro is also marketable, and I don't want to just close the door. I know that Nate and MVG have been, in the space for a while, but they are just speculating. And like we do on the internet, everyone is running with this and closing the case on any sort of Switch hardware in 2023 or possibly 2024. And I want to be careful because these leakers have been wrong before. Remember when Wind Waker and Twilight Princess and Metroid Prime were for sure coming? They never did. Remember when 1-2 Switch was like right there? It didn't show up. There is a chance that they're completely off base in the same way that Switch Pro predictions were sure, and we were waiting every single morning at 9 a.m. to see if Nintendo would tweet out the hardware video, and then oops, it was the OLED. These things just go how they go, and no matter how many leaks and rumors and predictions and logical steps we can draw, the answer is often impossible to totally perceive. There is now a world where Nintendo has a brand new system this year, a brand new system next year, or no brand new system until 2025. But I warn you this, Nintendo, 2025 is a mistake for your new system because you will be asking for trouble. Your power creep will be so dramatic at that point, it's going to be even trickier. And if you feel high and mighty now, please do not let that cloud your judgment, because the worst thing we want is for Switch 2 to repeat the failings of Wii U. And I would assume Nintendo is beyond that. I would assume they're past that. I would assume that they don't do that again. But these companies often do things that seem so foolish because they feel like it benefits their bottom line. They're going to ride this Switch super long. If you believe and buy into the 2025 thing, they're going to ride it because they can. Not because it's the best that they can do, not because it's what fans want. That doesn't matter. It's what the pocketbook states. And if they believe the pocketbook benefits more from a Switch that rides until it's stretched to its maximum, then that is what they will give us. I personally do not buy 2025. That feels so far away, and it feels like it would put Nintendo in a chasm of important game releases, a chasm of power, a chasm of fan excitement, and I think you just can't do that. And I really do hope that Nintendo understands and realizes the gravity of a 2025 launch, an 8-year gap between Switch and Switch 2, a 10-year gap between chips. It will be a dark 2 years if we don't have anything in terms of boost. And I guess there's a chance Nintendo does something off the wall crazy, a third kind of system that we can't predict. Who knows? A home-only Switch like nobody thinks they'll do, but it's been discussed and rumored. The future is blurry, maybe blurrier than ever before. As soon as we think we know something, we don't. And I would say that right now, leakers and leaks are more untrustworthy than ever because of the recent track record. And to Nate's credit, they're just speculating. They're not claiming this to be fact, and I want to make that very clear because too often these leakers accuse YouTubers of just running with their information as fact. And I want to be clear that I'm not running with it as fact. I'm running with it as speculation and a mental exercise to say what happens if Nintendo does wait to 2025 and how that would be a big mistake. And in that case, we would look at Tears of the Kingdom probably as the big finale for Switch. And the next 2 years would just be riding it out. And I don't want that. You don't want that. And truly, Nintendo, I'm telling you, unless you want to repeat the errors of your past, you do not want that either. So here's hoping for some new hardware soon, but at the same time, we could end up with an OLED light and no new Switch till 2025. What do you think? You cool with the power of the Switch for 2+ more years? You cool with Nintendo being further behind next time than they were this time? You cool with the Switch just kind of fading instead of powerfully going to the next step? I think it's a colossal misstep. I think it's a colossal mistake, and I hope Nintendo doesn't do it. Let me know what you think in the comments down below, everybody. Thanks so much for watching. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay positive out there. Team No 2025. Gonna get the billboards and the yard signs going. No to 2025. Dear goodness gracious, I hope so. Thanks again. SwitchForce. Out.